This episode of the Golf Gambling This episode of the Golf Gambling Podcast from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with code GOLFSGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. NFL playoffs are here this weekend. Make sure you tune into the Sports Gambling Podcast for all of your picks and props. Definitely take a look at that. All right, we are live. The Sony Open DFS preview. We had a nice little week at the Century. We had some good, some bad, but nonetheless, it was a fun week, some fun sweats, and a great start to the 2025 golf season. And now we are back. I am on the island. I am at Honolulu, on Honolulu. I'm not sure what the correct verbiage is. I know like Long Island, on Long Island, in Long Island was like a correct way to say it, which I still don't know. And I don't know if it's the same way here, but nonetheless, I'm in Hawaii. I flew from Maui to Honolulu, and here we are. We're going to cover some golf, going to go over the DraftKings leaderboard. I think Dom and I tomorrow will break down the Century a little bit more. This is not a breakdown show. This is a preview show. We are here Monday afternoon. It's 11 a.m. Hawaii time, so I think that's 4 p.m. Eastern time zone. So a little late afternoon for the Eastern folk, but we're here. This time zone, the time zones are kind of fucking with me. I'm going to be honest. So like I've out of the 8 days I've been here, I've made it past midnight one time. Didn't make it past midnight for New Year's Eve. And I just had like one Saturday night, I made it out past midnight. And it's just like I'm in bed by 9. I'm up early, but hopefully I can stay that way until I get back to the East Coast. But I feel like once I get back, I'm going to be adjusted to the Hawaii time and then be absolutely boned for my Eastern sleeping. So we're here. Let's bring up the DraftKings board and go through some prices. Hideki Matsuyama leads us off at, what is he, 11K. Corey Connors, 10-2. So I guess we'll start with, no. We'll start with those two because the 9K range is a little bit big. I guess Corey Connors and Hideki Matsuyama, you can build with both of them for sure. But I will say, I'm going to cross off Corey Connors. Look, yeah, he's confident. He is surely one of the better players in this field. But from what I saw from Corey Connors last week on site was a guy who struggled with the ball striking, a guy who looked like he was going through things. And then he ended up having a really good week. But then when you look into the numbers, he had his best putting week of all time. I don't think that's going to continue. I'm seeing a golfer who is struggling tee to green, and Corey Connors, a generationally bad putter. I'm not going to buy that for a second straight week. Like if you got some Corey Connors money last week, great. If you think it's going to parlay into this week, be my guest. But I'm going to take a back seat to Corey Connors just because I don't think the ball striking is exactly where it needs to be at the moment. And at 10,200, there's a lot better you can do down the board. So with that being said, Corey Connors is a cross off. That leaves Hideki. If I had to pick between these two, I would pick Hideki. Do you want to play an $11,000 Hideki Matsuyama off of a win? There's nothing telling you that you shouldn't. I mean, he's a winner here. He likes these conditions. And if look what he did last week. No matter if it was a long iron, a wedge, a driver, one-handed finish, it was in the fairway. It was 3 feet from the flag. Yeah, he's not going to go 35 or whatever under this week, but sure, he can play well and he'll probably contend for a top 10 finish. That's if he doesn't withdraw. I think he'll be here because he likes these Hawaiian events. It's very close. It's the closest to Japan, so outside of the Zozo. So I do think Hideki will play and be focused and be ready for golf this week. That being said, I'm not sure if I'm going to go to Hideki, but I'm going to say Corey Connors is surely a cross off for me. That leaves Russell. Let's 9K range. Russell Henley, Tom Kim. Tom Kim is back. We haven't seen much of Tom Kim. Tom Kim is back. Keegan Bradley, Benny On, Bobby Mack, Maverick McNeely, Sahith Theegala, and Si Woo Kim. Definitely some interesting names in this 9K range. And if I have to pick someone from the top, or at least let's do what we did like with the top of range. Guys that I'm going to cross off immediately. A guy that I'm going to cross off immediately is Keegan Bradley. Last year I bet him in this event and played him a ton, but he was basically half of the price. And just what you're getting for a 25 to 1, $9,500 Keegan Bradley ceiling wise or floor wise isn't up to standards. Yeah, he hit the ball well last week, but I just think Keegan Bradley's variance in his golf career is not worth this price. I will say Keegan Bradley has something to prove. He's playing with a higher confidence right now, and that's because he doesn't want to be looked at as just captain. He doesn't want to be looked at as Captain Keegan who can't play anymore. So with that being said, I think Keegan will play fine and have an okay week. But for him being one of the higher priced golfers, I'm gonna say I don't want any Keegan Bradley at all. That leaves Tom Kim up top and Russell Henley up top. Remember when Tom Kim was like 12-1 and like an auto win in this field? Was it 2 years ago? I don't think he played it last year. But Tom Kim on paper, this is a golf course that makes a ton of sense for him. You want to find fairways. You want to putt well in Bermuda, be good with your short mid irons and wedges. That's kind of what Wildlife asks you, and that's what Tom Kim is as a golfer. Tom Kim is a guy who just wants to fucking win. It doesn't matter where he tees it up, whether that's with playing with his buddies, playing in a shit event, playing in a mass event. He wants it. And for better or worse, he does not care about anyone but himself. I've heard that from a lot of people on the grounds. I've heard that from my own eyes. I've heard that we've seen him break things on the course and not apologize for it. What was that? On the DP World Tour over the summer? Like, he just wants to freaking win. And although that might be not the best personality traits, that's a winning mentality. And I like that for his skill set on this golf course. So at, what's his price? $9,800, you're getting a lot. Russell Henley, $9,900, a guy who has won here, a guy who's blown tournaments here, a guy who you play Russell Henley on short Bermuda courses, but you're asking a lot from one of the top priced golfers in the field. And he hit the ball fine last week. I think he gained like 1.8 strokes on approach, but it wasn't the Russell Henley that we probably thought we were going to get. He didn't look great visually. He didn't really hit the ball to his standards. So although it's not a concern, like I don't think Russell's going to play bad, I don't know if you really want to go all in on him. I'd probably prefer Tom Kim up here. I already said I'm crossing off Keegan Bradley. That leaves Ben On, Bob Mack, Maverick McNeely, Sahith Theegala, and Si-Woo Kim. Ben On, another golfer who almost won this event last year. And on paper, you think Ben On, you want him on a big golf course where he can just use that bombing gouge, that awesome driver. But he hits that driver pretty damn straight too. It's not just long. And when he gets those wedges dialed plus his best surface is Bermuda, it makes a ton of sense. So I can definitely see a world in which Ben On plays well again. I want to look entirely at his strokes gain numbers from last week to give a nice picture, because I could see Ben On having another solid week. So last week, Ben On lost 3.5 strokes on approach, which is definitely a concern. Lost 2 strokes putting. I feel more comfortable about the putter coming back than the irons. So although I don't love what I saw from Ben On strokes gain wise, and I don't see him going back to back, I mean runner up like he did last year, I do think Ben On will be in for a good week. Bob Mack, I don't really love him on easier golf courses. I prefer him on difficult tracks. Maverick McNeely just keeps playing really good golf. He has a top 10 here in his career. I feel like it's a confidence thing with Maverick McNeely, and he got that win obviously at the RSM, and then he bounced back with a better approach week. He gained 4.7 strokes gain on approach at the Century, which is one of the better approach weeks of his career. Maverick, if you know anything about him, he usually struggles on approach, so it's good to see him being confident, playing well, and going into a course that he has played well on before. Sure. That leaves Si-Woo and Sahith. I think Sahith Theegala can be an absolute hammer this week. Sure, this does not scream Sahith Theegala golf course. You want him on a golf course where you could spray it a little bit. But I will say, when Sahith Theegala is not chalk, when Sahith Theegala is not $10,300, when he's not 25-1, that's when he pops. He's a better number of this field than he was last week, or at least a very similar number. And for strength of field, makes a ton of sense to take the double dip on Sahith if he went for him last week. So I think he could just be in for a really solid bounce back. In his interviews, he spoke that he wasn't too far off, didn't really make any putts, and he's a super volatile golfer. We're getting him in a forgotten week in a better to same number in a weaker field. I think we hammer Sahith. I think he could be in for a really, really good week. And that leaves Si-Woo, a guy who you'll know what you get with him. It's either going to be really good or really bad, but he's won here before. He's got another decent result here before. I think Si-Woo is going to be ownership dependent, so wait and see. But it's a good price. Wait and see on, what is it? Wednesday, Tuesday afternoon, whenever that ownership comes out on your specific website. Stay tuned. I'll hopefully give you a decent outlook on Si-Woo come Wednesday. 8K range. Let me pull up the leaderboard or the DraftKings board so you can see what we got going on in this 8K range. We got JT Poston, $8,900 coming off of not a great week. Taylor Pendrith, Austin Eckroat, who's going to be Giga Chalk, but I will say Austin Eckroat makes a ton of sense. This is a perfect golf course for Austin Eckroat, and no one's won more in this field besides Hideki Matsuyama than Austin Eckroat in the last calendar year. So great price, going to be chalky, could be good chalk. Kurt K, Davis Thompson, Luke Clance, Brian Harman, Ben Griffin, Harry Hall, and Sepp Straka. So already my eyes are leading me to the bottom of this 8K range. This is one of the better prices that we've seen on Brian Harman, at least in a while, in terms of strength of field. After Brian Harman won a year and a half ago, whenever it was, 2 years ago, he got inflated with the prices. But this is a golf course that makes sense for Brian Harman. I believe he's played this event 13 times and missed the cut just one time. And yeah, he's not playing great golf. He fought with even par at the Century. But it's a great price on a golf course that makes sense for Brian Harman. Shorter, positional, Bermuda, that's where you want him. Don't ask any more questions. Brian Harman, I think, can make you some hay this week. And I think the same for Ben Griffin. Like Ben Griffin, it's not even a conversation. Short, Bermuda, you play Ben Griffin. He's coming off of 2 straight events in which he has a T15 and a T8 at the RSM and Bermuda event, I believe. And he plays so good on these golf courses. Like, this is where you want Ben Griffin. I can see him getting upwards of double digits in ownership, but he hasn't really let us down that much on these golf courses. So why just it's like not, this is a horrible comparison, but just hear me out real quick. Remember when Scotty Scheffler was coming out and he was just playing really good, not really a prolific winner, but just like top 5 doing his thing. I remember the industry was like, he just fade him. He's gonna have a hard week soon, and he's $1,100. He's gonna have a bad week soon. Just fade him. Like Ben Griffin, every time he plays positional Bermuda, yeah, he's due for a bad week soon, but he just doesn't. He just plays so good on positional Bermuda every single time. So I definitely like Ben Griffin, and that leaves Sepp Straka. Sepp Straka was a play for us last week at much cheaper than this, and a bet for us at 80-1, I believe. Similar numbers in both categories, and this is objectively a better golf course for Sepp Straka. Although he's a big, burly Austrian, he doesn't hit the ball too far, and he has played well. He won on a course, PGA National, which asks you very similar questions to what Wiley asked you. So we're getting Sepp off of a week where he hit the ball well, made some putts, had a crazy back 9 at one point, at a great price on a golf course that is better for him than it was last week. I'm happy he got those reps in at Century because this golf course suits him far better. We get him on his best surface, Bermuda, down for some Sepp at 8K. But let's go up to the top of this 8K range and talk about some guys that I like. JT Poston, Taylor Pendrith, both of them make a ton of sense. And this is definitely, I want to deep dive these 2 guys really quick and see who I want to go with, because I could see each of them really playing well. Taylor Pendrith striped it last week. Taylor Pendrith finished 10th in this event last year. JT Poston finished 6th last year. They both make a ton of sense, and they both can find a way to make some hay. But I will say, what I saw from Taylor Pendrith last week, I called him the alpha of the Canadians, and that ended up faring really well. He played super well. If it wasn't for Corey Connors making everything he saw, he would have outlasted the Canadians and easily cashed that low Canadian market. But I like Taylor Pendrith at the top. He just seems so confident. He's played well on shorter courses before. He can hit it far, but he's really, really good with the wedges and a great putter. So Taylor Pendrith, probably my click in the top of this 8K range. Middle of the 8K range, I don't know how I feel about Davis Thompson, Luke Clanton, because he's someone I could see having a stinker. Luke Clanton, I would prefer these guys at the bottom of this 8K range. We're going to bring up the 7K range. Let me bring up my screen real quick. But before we totally deep dive the 8K range, 7K range, sorry. Hold on. I got a question about Eckroat real quick. On the topic of Eckroat, yeah, definitely. There's a ton of crossover from the Sony Open to the whatever you want to call the PGA National courses events. Yes, short Bermuda, positional, definitely I like that comparison. I will say it's a little bit softer here. Although it's in Florida at the Cognizant, the greens are technically, or not technically, sometimes play a little bit firmer than they do out here, at least in years past. But I will be on site tomorrow and Wednesday and get a full breakdown of everything. So 7K range, going to deep dive the 7K range. But first, I got to do some ad reads. So bear with me for a second, and then we will get into the 7K range. All right. It's playoffs times. We're talking about the playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is the key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your picks. DraftKings have odds for the Sony Open, so definitely go check them out. New DraftKings customers can get $5 can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SGP. That's code SGP for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when your first bet is just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 777-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is on the way. For problem gambling, call 888-78-9777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bet expire 168 hours after insurance. For additional terms and responsible gaming instructions, see dkng.co/audio. Finally, Underdog Pick'em has some of the best and biggest menus for all sports. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems. Underdog Playoff Best Ball is now live. The Gauntlet Tournament has $2 million in prizes up for grabs for just a $25 entry. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. I'm going to be using my boost on some golf lines that aren't available yet, so stay tuned for that. So sign up with code GOLFSGPN to claim your deposit bonus up to $1,000. Promo code GOLFSGPN, underdogfantasy.com. All right. Thank you. Long ad reads today, but we have to pay the bills here at SGPN. Okay. $7,000 range, definitely a big range. And let's start with the top. Cam Davis, Billy Horschel, Chris Kirk, Mac Hughes, Harris English, Tom Hoagie, Denny Mack. Cam Davis, I'm going to say it right now, Giga Chalk. When he is Giga Chalk, he does not really work out. Billy Horschel, a golf course that makes sense for him on paper, and he's got a ton of dog. I do want to see what Billy Horschel did last week in terms of strokes gained, because I want to see where his game is at, because the man is a winner. The man has dog. So Billy Horschel, what did he do last week? He has lost ball striking in 2 straight weeks, finished 51st. Not loving what I'm seeing with Billy Horschel. Back to the DraftKings board. Chris Kirk. I feel like this is a week where Chris Kirk can play some good golf. It is a golf course that makes sense for him. Opposed to the Century last year where he won, this objectively makes way more sense for Chris Kirk. He hit the driver well. He did not hit his irons well. I expect his irons to bounce back for sure. Obviously, another winner at PGA National. Harris English, Tom Hoagie, Denny McCarthy. I think in this range, I'm going to go with Denny McCarthy. Denny, he did exactly what I expected of him last week. He struggled to really get low, but the golf course is just simply long for him. Even though it's an easy golf course, he gained strokes off the tee, lost about a stroke on approach, which is fine, and lost 5 strokes putting. I want to see real quick, where does this putting week rank in Denny McCarthy's career? Because if Denny's losing 5 strokes putting, we know he's going to bounce back. That was the second worst putting week of Denny McCarthy's career. He has to be livid. He's generally great on Bermuda, so I expect Denny McCarthy to definitely bounce back on the greens. I expect Thomas Dietrich to be really, really chalky, and I said it last week. I do not see Thomas Dietrich gaining enough strokes on approach to really make some noise. He ended up finishing 5th, but he lost like 2 or 3 strokes on approach. That's not sustainable. He's a great putter, yeah, but I can't back Thomas Dietrich, who's not hitting his irons well. Eric Cole did not play well last week. This is a much better golf course for Eric Cole. I can see him playing well. Seamus Power, we have not heard from him in a while, but I like this range, this Thorbjornsen, Novak, Jaeger, Dunlap range. These guys just have so much firepower, and they can, like, one of these guys is going to finish inside the top 6. Thorbjornsen, Novak, Jaeger, and Dunlap, all in their own ways. If I had to rank them, I would go Thorbjornsen, Novak, Dunlap, Jaeger. I would go that way. Actually, I would go, Thorbjornsen, Novak, Dunlap, Jaeger. But I just love all of these guys. I think they can really make some noise in this 7K range. Bottom of the 7K range, we're getting some guys with firepower as well, like JJ Spawn. Did we just forget about JJ Spawn, who had an absolutely amazing fall, and he striped it everywhere he went. The results were good, And this is a golf course that makes a ton of sense for JJ. Looking at his results, it's not the best results on paper. JJ is not winning or finishing T20 at the Sony every time he tees it up, but you want JJ when you have to be accurate off the tee and make a ton of hay with your middle irons, wedges, and the putter. That's what JJ does well. So I definitely like him in this type of event. Milano Grillo, I don't know how much I trust the putter, even though he had a decent putter season last year. Michael Kim is definitely very interesting. I want to take a closer look at Michael Kim as well as Doug Gim. Both of those two are very similar styles golfer, accurate, great iron players, can spike with the putter. Michael Kim has been striping his irons. He has not lost strokes off on approach since the Wyndham Championship. And at the Sony, what has he done? I mean, he's got the West Coast narrative. He's played this event 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, made the cut 4 of them with a T20. Nothing crazy, but Michael Kim's playing some of the better golf of his career. So I definitely like him down towards the bottom of this 7K range. And then if I have to pick someone else at the bottom of the 7K range, Lee Hodges has been striping it in the fall. I don't know why. He's definitely cheaper than he should be. Ryo Hisatsune, low-key home game for Rio. Japan's not too far. And this is a golf course that Rio should fare well on. A golf course you have to be accurate and hit your irons or short irons and wedges really well. That's what Rio does well. Could definitely see Rio playing well. Okay, 6K range. Some definitely, I think, names that should be more expensive at the top of this 6K range, but Eric Van Rooyen, we play him in weak fields when he's cheap, and that is what we have here. So I think Eric Van Rooyen could be a decent target. Matty Schmid, although he's a big man, plays really well on these shorter positional golf courses, had a decent fall. I want to see what Matty Schmid has been up to because he finished, I think, T5 at the Shriners, which is an event that asks you very similar questions to what you have here. So Matty Schmid, he finished T59 at the Alfred Dunhill, doesn't matter. And then he went 16th, 5th, 3rd from the Sanderson Farms to the Shriners. And then he kind of had a tough go. He's missed 2 cuts here, but I think Matty Schmid on paper makes sense for a golf course like this. Jesper Svensson, a guy who graduated from the DP World Tour and is generally very accurate off the tee. A ton of top 10s on the DP World Tour, a baller who can get really, really hot. I definitely like him to make some noise. He should be excited to get out here. Middle of the 6K range, Quade Cummins, I believe he's an Oklahoma guy, a guy who could take it really low on the Korn Ferry Tour. I definitely like his ceiling as a young stud that we don't know about. I don't know how he's the same price as Chris Gotterup, who's a PGA Tour winner, truthfully. So whatever you have to say. Okay, and finally, I really like Tim Wieding, $6,400, a Viking Cup, a Swedish golfer who is a really, really damn good ball striker and can get hot with the putter. He played in some majors, made some cuts, but I like him at the bottom in the middle of the 6K range. I don't really think you have to go too low in the 6K range. I think you can go down with Wieding and then some of these guys at the top that I mentioned. So, yeah, that about wraps it up. I'm going to be at Wildlife tomorrow and Wednesday. So definitely get in the Discord. Tag me if you have any questions on who to see, who to look for, anything like that. And then yeah, let's make some money together. You know where to find me on Twitter. Ask questions whenever, Discord. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow or Wednesday for the betting show. Peace out.